Welcome to our new online program, Discovering the Age Leventis Gallery. Every month we're going to go deep into our collections and discover new artists, new paintings, new movements, new methods, and lots of magic and stories. This month's theme is Orpheus and the Dream World. It's by artist Nikos Engonopoulous, who is part of the Greek collection of the Age Leventis Gallery. Now, Engonopoulous, except for an artist, was also a poet and a playwright, and he loved Greek mythology and history. Often, he was inspired by a lot of the myths and legends, and he would put these ideas into his paintings. Do you know any famous characters from mythology or any famous legends? Have a think. Now let's take a look at our actual painting. Here we have the main character of the painting, Orpheus, who is part of a famous Greek myth. Do you know Orpheus' story? Don't worry if you don't. Have a few minutes and use your imagination looking closely at the painting and think what his whole background story could be all about. Now that you've had a chance to think about it, are you ready for me to tell you what Orpheus is all about? Orpheus' story is related to music, which maybe you could guess from the violin that he was playing. It was said that he played music so beautifully and sang so sweetly that magic happened. All of the trees in the forest would come close to listen to him, and all of the wild beasts, like this tiger here, would be calm and sitting there. Do you believe in the power of music? Can you think of any circumstances where music makes you happy or sad, calm, confused, curious? Put on one of your favorite songs and move around a bit and get into the mood and see what kind of feelings it might bring out in you. Now that we enjoyed our music, we're going to talk a little bit about the movement, the art movement, that Nikos Engonopoulous was part of. It's called Surrealism. You might have heard that word before. It's a French word, and it means above reality. Now, in what way could we say that this painting is surrealistic? So the idea of surrealism is something is real, but maybe not quite real. For example, here we have a person who is playing a violin, but if we look closely, what do we notice? He has many fingers on his hands. I think here we can count 10 on one and about 12 on the other, the same with his feet. And he's playing a violin in order to calm the wild beast, but there's no chords. He has no eyes, he has no mouth, no nose, no ears to hear this wonderful music. And then, if we do a little close-up and look at the face of the tiger, it almost looks human, with these big, luscious eyes. Surrealists were often inspired by their dreams, and this would give them a lot of food for thought when it came to creating their paintings. Dali was a surrealist who was particularly inspired by his by his dreams. We'll see things like stones with faces, clocks that are melting. Something real mixed with something that's not exactly real. chance to take a look at some wonderful surrealist paintings, it's time for you to make one of your own. Grab a piece of paper, pencil, colored pencil, some paintings, and get started. The best way to find some inspiration for this is from your dreams. Think about it. How many times do you dream something, and then when you go and tell somebody, you get all confused or something doesn't seem exactly right? That's pretty much what surrealism is all about. Once you're done with this, we're going to go to Renoir's workshop to do a very exciting arts and craft, inspired by what else? Surrealism and dreams. Welcome to the Arts and Crafts segment of our program, Discovering the Age in Leventis Gallery. Today we are continuing from the program where we focused on Surrealism, looking at Engonopoulous' painting, Orpheus. Now if you remember, one thing we talked about with Surrealism was how much they were inspired by dreams, especially Dali. They used to use a lot of the images that they saw in their dreams, which were these kinds of different versions of reality, and put them on their works of art. So today, what are we going to do? We're going to make something that will help us catch our dreams, a dream catcher. And here are some wonderful examples of the creations that we are going to make today. Now, dream catchers was something that the Native Americans used in order to catch their bad dreams. They were often made with sort of wooden twigs that they would do to make the sort of circular part of the dream catcher, and then various forms of thread, beads, feathers, and other things like that. They used to put these in the window, especially above children's beds, to catch all the bad dreams and only let the good dreams pass through. And that way you could sleep throughout the night without worrying about nightmares. When the light of dawn would come, all the bad dreams would disappear. And this is what we're going to work on today. Now, let's get started. Let's take a look at the materials that we're going to need to make our dream catcher. We start off with paper plates. And then we're going to need a hard surface that we can cut the plate on, a nice sharp cutter, paints to actually paint the color of our choice, string to do this part of the dream catcher. Here it's yarn, but you can use other forms of string, some feathers, and beads for decoration, and a very important part, the glue gun. Now, the first thing that we do, which I've already done here so that you can take a look, is we cut a hole in our plate in order for it to become like this. Now, we then paint it. You can paint it double-sided if you want, or just on one side. Depends on how much time you have, but you've got to give it a few minutes for it to dry completely. And then begins the fun part. Now, a couple of minutes before you're going to start, you want to turn on your glue gun so that the glue is nice and hot for use. So to begin with, we work on the inside of our 2B dream catcher, and we take a long piece of yarn. Now here there's a lot of different ways that you can do this. You could cut individual pieces of yarn and glue them on either side like this. But you could also take one long piece of yarn and start off with an edge like this. So, take the glue gun, put a little bit of glue on the edge. Here we go. Now, I like to have something just to kind of press it down so I don't burn my fingers. Because the glue gun is very hot, it glues very quickly, which makes this project a lot easier. Now we do it on the other side, but you can put it anywhere. This is what makes it fun. It's actually really hard to not do a very good version of a dream catcher. So you will go around like this. Now again, it's up to you how you do it. You can try to do a specific pattern if you want, but you can also just kind of go crazy. So I'm not going to do the whole part now because that'll take a while. Maybe you don't want to see me do every single little detail, but just a few little examples to get you started. Now, after, say right now, we have done all of the interior. We also want to make this part here, which is really important. Now, one way of doing that would have been to actually take the end of the string and press it like this to make it double. But if you've forgotten to do that, you can always just cut another piece of string and put it there. And then we do the really fun part, where we individually cut the long pieces of string. Now, as you can see, me and Theodora decided to do a mix of two colors. I think that looks particularly nice. So we cut individual pieces around the same length, but again, the great thing about this is that they're not all straight. Afterwards, you can just cut them to make them an equal size. So you cut various individual pieces. You choose one side, so if this is going to be where you're hanging it, then the pieces need to come on the bottom right here. And then we, again, place dots of glue, just like this, and place our string down a tiny bit like that. Now, after we have put a lot of strings, so here again I'm just showing you a couple, we close our dream catcher with the other side, like that. Which again, pretty simple. You just put a bunch of glue on either side, like this. Now, you want to get the interior bit here done, and the exterior bit there done, because you want all parts of it to stick together. So see here, I haven't done every little edge, but you can see the idea behind it. Now, if something like this happens, where it seems not to be perfectly equal, you can just get a friend or a parent to sort of trim off the edge to make it look a bit better. And then comes my favorite part, is the decoration of the dream catcher. Now you can do a color theme, not like Theo has done here, where she's done the mixed colors, or you can do, I chose here to just do purple and white. And you will pass the various beads. Let me see what bead I'm going to use today. Or you know, if you've got buttons or anything like that, through your yarn. Now again, depending on the kind of yarn that you have, it might be easier or harder to get it through. So for example, this one is slightly harder. So what I would do is, let me see, I need to get one more piece of material. This makes things a lot easier. So you cut off a tiny bit of masking tape, and then you put it on the edge. And you kind of put it like this. And then you can put it through, well, not through this one, because this one has too small of a hole. There we go. Through your piece. And you tie a knot, either one or two, in order to keep the bead exactly where you want it to be. I also find that just to make sure that it's exactly where I want it to be, that I kind of close it off with a little bit of glue on either side like that. So the glue helps the bead stay where you want it to stay. Then after you've bought, obviously we would have had a lot of strings hanging here, so after you've put all the strings and you've slowly put all of the beads on it, you add the last bit, which is the feathers. So here, again, you can do it how you want it and where you want it. There is no right or wrong. So you could also do it on the top bit if you wanted to. But I quite like how it looks on the bottom, so that's where I'm going to do it. Add a little bit of glue and place your feathers. Now, put some on one side and then a tiny bit more like that, just to make sure. There we go. That it's perfectly glued on. So that's the next step. And we finish off with a fantastic dream catcher like this that you can hang next to your window to make sure that you only have good and inspiring dreams and no more nightmares. That's all from me, and we look forward to seeing you next month on our next Discovering the Age of Leventis Gallery.